Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request for me to do a commentary on Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. Thank you for that. Thank you to people out there who sent in paid requests. I really do appreciate it. And for those interested, requested any type of videos or topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box down below. And once again, thank you for the paid requests if you watch it out there. I'm never sure if people want their names said. Like, I'll put in the info box down below, but I should ask, like, people actually want their names said or not? I never really think of that, so. Because some people want privacy, but then that negates it because I put it down below, because I figure that was the least I can do. I don't know, I should ask if people actually want their names said who sent in the paid request. Like, maybe they want to be anonymous. I never thought of that. So maybe I've been screwed up the whole time, so. But I just figured. Anyway, I know that's stupid, but anyway, I'll put it down below in the info box. And again, the links, if people want to send a commentary, review, re-review, randomness, out of the blueness list, whatever type of reaction, if you want to send in a paid request, feel free to send it, like I said, directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box under the video. I know it's like 2 minutes in, I haven't done anything with this yet. But hey, maybe it's for the best to get people set up if you want to follow along. I am watching this on the DVD. I actually like this cover. It's not the theatrical poster. This is the poster that was on the VHS. And I always thought this was the better poster. Because there is a theatrical poster, like if you look on Wikipedia, it just doesn't look as good as this. To me, this is a beautiful painting. Because the color scheme. This is what I remember seeing when I was a kid on VHS. So, I have a pause at the beginning. Countdown. 3, 2, 1. Pressing play. And the first thing we get, the cast and crew dedicate the film to the men and women of the spaceship Challenger, whose courageous spirit shall live to the 23rd century and beyond. Yeah, this was 1986, and the Challenger, it was getting ready to launch, and it blew up. Sadly, a lot of people died. Sadly, that's just what happened. I know there's another film that came around this time called Space Camp, where it's about people that accidentally get launched into space and they're part of a space camp. That film got definitely screwed up. It wasn't the best film, but it was what it was. But I mean, unless it was fantasy like this, I think at the time no one really wanted to see anything about actual astronauts. Not in any negative connotation, it's just be depressing because of this tragic event that happened. So rest in peace to the people of the Challenger. I thought that was nice. They didn't have to do that, but I thought that was a nice bit at the beginning to give a salute to them. Because I know there's a lot of astronauts that really grew up on Star Trek. Like George Takei, he told a story about him, and I think Nichelle Nichols, who played Uhura, going, and the astronauts were like happy to see them. It's like, well, we were here to see you. There's Nichelle Nichols. Nicole, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. But yeah, Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. My favorite of the Star Trek films. I think a lot of people, not everybody, but, well, most people would say Star Trek 2 is their favorite. But I like all 6 of the original Star Trek movies, even Part 5. I do, I like all 6 of them. I love the motion picture. I particularly love the extended cut that was only on VHS and never got an actual release anywhere else, because I watched that VHS over and over again. And, I like the theatrical, and the director's cut on DVD, but I wish there was, it's called the special longer version. I always enjoyed the motion picture. Yes, it's a slow movie, but to me, in a way, that's a film that fits the title the best. It is a Star Trek. We're having a trek through the stars. It is about the journey. Back in the day, it'd be the journey in the high seas. Here, it's Journey Through the Stars. It's about discovery. Like, that's, to me, is the Star Trek film about actual seek new life and new civilizations to boldly go where no man has gone before. I think the first Star Trek is the one that captures that the most. I really do. Most people say it's boring. I'm not bored with it. Again, I love the film. Yes, there's a lot of masturbatory shots of look at the ship. But I'm like, hey, it looks cool, and I like the effects, and I love Jerry Goldsmith's music, so I was fine with it. Then you had Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, which I do like. But everyone always calls it their favorite. There's just other Star Trek films I like more. I like this one more. I actually like the first one more. I like the third one more. Just as other... Again, I like Star Trek 2, just there's others I like more. But it's still a good movie. Star Trek 3 is maybe my second favorite. Because I love the Star Trek 3, I love the human interaction. Well, just interaction in general between Kirk and McCoy, and everyone has their own moments to shine. And as a group of people getting their friend back, and Christopher Lloyd as a Klingon. I always enjoy Star Trek 3 because I love the characters. And I have the show on DVD. I don't have the Blu-ray. I guess the Blu-ray, it has like new enhanced special effects. Here's footage from Star Trek 3, speaking of, when they blew up the Enterprise. And then the trial that pops up like at the very end of the film. Which I guess there's going to be much more about the trial, but then they kind of saved that for Star Trek 6, where Kirk was on trial with the Klingons. Granted for a different theme, but elements of this are brought back into it. Like how the... But... Again, Star Trek 3, I always enjoyed the character interactions with each other. And this one was, I think, just the fish out of water story. And like I said, I have the DVD of the TV show, but I don't have the Blu-ray. I don't have it with the enhanced special effects. I don't have any of that stuff. Maybe one day I'll pick it up, but I just... the old DVD set that's like one's yellow and one's blue and one's red in a shell. Like season 1 is a yellow shell, season 2 is a blue shell for the casing of the DVDs. The third is a red shell. That's the DVD set I have. And I didn't watch the whole show when I was a kid. I had a couple VHS tapes. The VHS... God, I can't remember the name of the episodes. But one was the Squire of Gothos, the Tremaine. The one with Tremaine. I think it's... I forget if that's the title. Again, I'm not an expert on the titles. But the one with Tremaine being an asshole, and Kirk just smacking him down, bitch slapping him. I always remember the one, the Galileo 7, where Spock is in command of this little group, and they come down on a planet, and there's these like creepy looking monsters with big ass spears that like jam into people's stomach, and like you see blood. It's like, oh shit. Like a survival story. And then I'd have to think of like what my favorite episodes are, because I would be missing out on some. The Trouble with Tribbles, I didn't grow up with that one, but that's a fun one. Doomsday Machine, there's a lot of others. But I also saw the animated series, because I think we had a couple of them taped on a VHS tape, along with some Star Trek episodes. But it was really the movies. It was really the movies that got me into Star Trek the most. In particular, these movies. And this one I remember watching the most. I thought it was cool that they were riding around a Klingon bird of prey, at least for a little bit. Mutiny on the Bounty, yeah, you name it the Bounty. of course, this is after Star Trek 3 where they did a mutiny against Starfleet to go save their friend. And just this cast of characters, they really became so likable, and that's what made the show special to me. From the original show to these 6 movies. And the fact they consistently kept these characters and these actors. Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, DeForest Kelley, James Doohan. And they all have just a great spirit to them. And McCoy and his sarcasm. Kirk, the character, that's kind of who we want to be. He'll do anything for a friend. He's courageous. He'll kick ass. I've had enough of you! Kicking Christopher Lloyd in the face in the previous film. And it's sort of the weird genesis, so to speak, of Star Trek, where you had the original pilot that wasn't William Shatner. It was another actor. Then the pilot, they wanted some changes. They got William Shatner in there. Now, William Shatner as a person seems like an asshole. Seems like a lot of people who worked on the show just didn't like working with him because he was full of himself, which is too bad. But I do enjoy his type of acting in these movies. It may be theatrical and grand, but I think it works for the material. And I would say he's my favorite captain of the Star Trek TV shows and movies. Leonard Nimoy, may he rest in peace. He got to direct this film. He directed the previous film. I know, like, after the show only lasted 3 seasons. Like, you think of how big Star Trek is. It might surprise people that it only lasted 3 seasons. And that 3rd season I liked, but then you had some weird bad stuff like Spock's brain. Like, what the hell? But I would like to have seen it gone for more episodes. But then there was like, okay, what should we do with Star Trek? There was talks of doing another TV show. I think it's mainly when Star Wars became such a huge hit. And other studios went, well, what do we have for sci-fi? Oh shit, we got Star Trek. Let's make a movie. Like, there was going to be another TV show, but then let's make a movie. But then the movie, Leonard Nimoy did not want to come back as Spock. And then they had to either talk him into it. And then it's like, okay, he doesn't want to come back. Okay, how about you die off in 2? Okay, how about you direct part 3 and you do direct part 4? And then William Shatner's like, well, wait a minute, I want to direct one. So then he directed part 5. And the thing is, Leonard Nimoy was actually a pretty competent director. And I liked Star Trek 5, but it is the weakest of the 6. It is. But I like part 5 despite its issues. And it does have issues. You did not need Uhura dancing naked in Tahiti. You didn't need Scotty bumping his head like a fucking cartoon. But I liked the score by Jerry Goldsmith. I liked the moments between Kurt, Spock, and McCoy. You felt the trifecta. Because a good chunk of it is the 3 of them is going through the Enterprise as their teammates are turned on them. Them dealing with their fears, their pain. I need my pain. I actually like the idea of God, but it's not really God because that reflects the show because there's a lot of God-like characters on the show. So it's like another representation of the show. Granted, he actually wanted it to be God, but I don't think that would have worked out if it was actual God. Like, what, you don't kill actual God? No, it's, God believed in he thought it was God, but it was a false God. Yeah, these guys, I guess these guys, are you to assume these guys died? Because they're so melancholy and they're so kind of blank. Are you to assume that crew died? Because if the life support was going, I mean, it's like you see the lights going down, but again, I'm just wondering, are you to assume that they died? And they're kind of very, like, melancholy. The Dobby, pal. I don't know if, like, you never really, like, you don't see a ship blow up or anything. And so I guess, I don't know if you're to assume they just died or if they made it in time or what. Hey, it's Deepak Chopra. No, not really. It's M. Night Shyamalan. How the fuck did he get in this movie? He's on the TV screen. Why the fuck is M. Night Shyamalan in this movie? I don't want any fucking twists and turns. Fuck off, M. Night. M. Night Shyamalan don't do any fucking God, could you imagine him doing a Star Trek movie? By the end of it, it's like, it was all... I don't know what kind of twist he would do. Something incredibly fucking stupid. But yeah, Star Trek the Motion Picture I enjoyed, but it was labeled too boring, so they went more of an action-bound Star Trek 2. Star Trek 3 was more of a, I think, a character movie and a rescue movie, which I enjoyed. And yeah, I like the interactions here. And then Star Trek 4, they're like, okay, we've had Spock dying and coming back and some serious stuff. They wanted to just have fun. From what I read up, they just wanted to have fun. Let's just have a fun, entertaining movie. A little bit of an environmental message movie as well. But this one's just a lot more fun escapism. I think a lot of, like, YouTube watch this. I mean, I guess technically, like, 2, 3, and 4 are their own trilogy. Because it's the death and then rescue return of Spock. But yeah, I think in a way you could see this without being too confused. But I guess, like, you'd be like, okay, who's this? Well, she was in the previous film. Well, Star Trek, yeah, the previous Star Trek 3. So I guess maybe you can't see this on its own. You'd be a bit confused with this dialogue. Wait, he had a son, and the son died, and what the fuck? But I always thought this lady, was it Robin Curtis, her name? I always thought she did a good job as a Vulcan. But yeah, like I said, I enjoy these characters, and it's sad when I look at this, and a lot of them are gone. DeForest Kelly's gone, Leonard Nimoy's gone, James Doohan is gone. William Shatner is like, what, 80 years old? Give or take. I mean, it's just, that's just life, though. I just like the camaraderie, the way they interacted with each other, their personalities. And yeah, this became like the biggest hit of the franchise. In the year 1986, which is one of my favorite years for movies. People are like, really? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what my number one favorite year for movies would be, but 1996 would be in the... 86, I should say. 1986 would be in the top 5. Because you look at 1986, at least for me personally, I'm like, I got Aliens, I got Big Trouble in Little China, I got The Fly remake, I got, I love this film, my favorite Star Trek film. Maximum Overdrive, one of my favorite Stephen King films. It's just so batshit insane. We got, what was it, The Golden Child. My favorite Eddie Murphy film. Cobra. One of my favorite Stallone films. It just, to me, I think like Short Circuit came out that year. I really enjoyed that film. And it's just sad when I look at that year, then I look at like this year. Well, 2021, I should say. So, not this year, but it's just fucking sad. It's fucking sad how, in my opinion, entertainment's gone fucking downhill. You say tastes have changed. Like, this is a sequel, but it was a sequel that was just continuing a story brought up in the previous film, but did it in a fun, entertaining, escapism manner. It's 2 hours. We take out the end credits. It's under 2 hours. It's not 2.5 or 3 hours long. It's not, let's throw 85 points of nostalgia of the Star Trek show. No, we're telling our story. We're still on the Klingon bird of prey. We're going back for court-martial. But there's a way we have to save Earth. I know William Shatner was not really for the time travel idea, but then he said he was wrong. And what's funny is that I think it's on the Blu-ray, but on this DVD, there's a commentary with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy together. I think it's the only time they did a commentary together. And again, William Shatner, personal-wise, there's a lot of things I don't like about him. Spock and McCoy, again, these two always worked very well together. Sorry, now I'm just watching the film. You mean I have to die to discuss your insights on death? Just how infuriated he gets with Spock. So we have this probe that has come back and was in kind of this conversation with these whales, but realizes it hasn't had any amount of communication and is wondering what's going on. So what, it's like an extended version of pen pals? Maybe it was very smutty. Maybe the humpback whale was horny, and the probe is horny back, and is waiting for the time to get together. And when you get a no-show, people get pissed. Probe is pissed. Probe's like, fuck this. Where's my... I want to fuck. Where's my, my Tinder date? That's the probe is looking for his Tinder date. Where's my Tinder date? I'm gonna smash you with my Cheetos. There was Spock's father, Sarek, and well, I was saying Leonard Nimoy is a very capable director. I mean, not just for these two, but then after this, he did 3 Men and a Baby, and 3 Men and a Baby was like the biggest hit of 1987. That's why it still boggles my mind that 3 Men and a Baby never got a Blu-ray release, never got special features, never got a special edition on DVD. People forget that 3 Men and a Baby with Tom Selleck, Steve Gutenberg, Ted Danson, directed by Leonard Nimoy, was the biggest box office hit of 1987. People forget that. And again, it just dumbfounds me that it's like Crocodile Dundee was one of the biggest hits of 1986, and that never got a special edition. It just dumbfounds me. I'm like, these were the biggest hits of their years, and they got nothing for it. I did 3 Men and a Baby still not on Blu-ray. It just, again, is dumbfounding to me. And Leonard Nimoy directed that. I would love to have heard Leonard Nimoy talk about that, because people always asked him about Star Trek, of course. I wanted to hear his thoughts on how did he get 3 Men and a Baby. How was it working on it? How did he feel about the finished result? fond memories of it, looking back on it. But no. Well, you don't have to worry about your court martial anymore. No, not really. Here you have these weird noises, and then with the help of Spock, finding out that they're kind of like humpback whales, which have been extinct for a while. I think some of the ideas was that it was going to be like a cure for a disease or some other kind of thing. The message must be meant for man. And that's an interesting idea. Like, they want to contact another life form. Doesn't mean it's a human life form, because there's plenty of other life forms on Earth. So again, that's an intriguing idea. Like, why would they not want to interact with another life form? I thought that like the environmental message here, it worked well, and I don't think it beat itself into submission into your brain about environment. I don't think it did that either. But I think it was still a nice message to convey. Plus, I don't think you ever, on a side note, you don't need to fucking hunt whales. To me, I don't think you need to hunt fish because I don't like fish, and I know a lot of people like fish. But I'm like, you know what? We got cows and pigs, and chickens. That's enough. Leave the sea alone. That's just me, though. But like whales, and I don't think there's any reason to hunt that stuff. Go to a fucking McDonald's. It's not like they're selling whale burgers and whale fucking nuggets. Leave them the fuck alone. Of course, yeah, you look back and you see these old monitors, and nowadays you see more high tech on your phone, but it's 1986. I'm sorry, I'm not going to get mad at a film because it didn't do the impossible. But there are people that get mad at that. Like, there's some comment I read about Aliens where, oh, I hate the film because the monitors look so old and they look so clunky. I'm like, it's 1986, dude. I'm sorry that it could not go into the fucking future 20 years later and steal the technology and come back and say this is what it looks like. Like, come on. I complain about a lot of stuff, but even I'm not going to bitch about that. Give me a break. Keep that fucking Snickers bar you're eating. Or give me the Kit Kat bar. Sorry, I'm just watching the film again. Because I know what's coming with, wait a damn minute. Plus, they have done time travel before in the past. In the show, they have taken part in time travel. So it's not something completely new. So again, that's been part of the show. City on the Edge of Forever, you'll be in one of the more famous episodes. But yeah, Star Trek 4 came out in 1986. To me, a great year for movies, and this made a lot of money. Yeah, this was probably like the biggest hit of the franchise. At least at that point. And then a few years later, you had Star Trek V. Humpback people. Humpback people? No, whales, Mr. Scott. Whales. But, I mean, they still go into the danger of it. That's why you can't try time travel all the time. Because you're thinking, well, if you try to do if you do time travel, why not do it all the time? And it's because it's such a very risky maneuver that you could easily die if you go too much, too little. So they're still put into the danger. Thus, why in the future they can't just do that all the time. But this is a desperate measure that we gotta go for it. And it's weird. This character here, who's staring at the Captain Kirk monitor, was it Brock Peters? Is the name? In like Star Trek 6, he would be a villain. So it's interesting that you have this background character, reserve power now, and that he would become a villain in Star Trek 6. That was kind of an interesting little detail. Disney, you don't know much about him here other than he's staring at Captain Kirk talking about attempt to time travel. Get him back! Get him back! Yeah, that guy. I'll get more into Star Trek. Well, okay, I'll go a little bit Star Trek 5. I like the film. It's very flawed. William Shatner decided to direct it, and I think Shatner was way over his head. I think Leonard Nimoy was more practical in directing. He was more practical in what the audience wanted. And he understood the audience a bit more. While Shatner was trying to be very theatrical. And he wanted to have it be everybody against himself. And Shatner, very egocentric. I mean, again, I have fun with him as an actor. In Airplane 2 and these movies. I think he have a fun persona. But I think he was very much full of himself, where he's the star, but it's like it's not about you. But I think at times he felt that, and that's why he wanted Star Trek 5 to be. It's like, no, we're not going to just have it just be you. And it was for the better. You, Spock, and McCoy, the three of you. And again, I like Star Trek 5. I like some of its ideas. I like some of the stuff what it was trying for. Again, it's my least favorite of the first 6. But I still like Star Trek 5. And I would rather watch that than any of the new Star Trek films or TV shows. I would. And before I go further, this is a very trippy scene. Like a very trippy, weird... I don't even know how you describe it. It's like, I guess, how do you mimic time travel? Like, how do you do that where it's like you're going back through time, and by going back through time, you're going through like all the memories converging into one. Like, what does your body go through? What does your mind go through as you're traveling through time? Or back through time? I mean, this weird thing with, like, these figures merging with one another. I mean, it's a very trippy and, like, I think that's supposed to be a whale? Like, a point... I mean, just, I did very weird... It's like a mannequin coming towards you. and then some water. I'd be lying if I said I didn't understand. If I understood 100% what was going on. Then we got some reeds, some weeds. It's just, I guess, whatever you want to interpret it. But it's definitely trippy. Definitely one of the trippier scenes in a Star Trek movie. But I always liked it. I always thought it was a visually interesting sequence. I mean, you could just have the typical, they sit there. And that's the thing. Like, okay, we're going back in time. Do we just have it instantaneously? Which Back to the Future did that well the year prior. So let's do something a little bit different. So I appreciate the creativity in that scene. Judging by the pollution content, we're in the 20th century. Again, I enjoy the fish out of water quality to this. I think it gets a lot of genuinely fun moments. Very, like, genuinely funny moments, like the punk guy. And now I didn't even get into this. Originally, Eddie Murphy was supposed to be in this. Because there were talks where Eddie Murphy's a big fan of Star Trek. Eddie Murphy's a big fan. He would love to be a part of it. Okay, well, let's see what we can do. I guess Eddie Murphy would have been like a UFO guy. And then he noticed like a UFO and he's very adamant on seeing, like, he believes it's real. So he would not be a whale researcher. He'd be like a UFO conspiracy theorist or expert or something. And so again, he thinks he sees something or he in contact with something. And but I guess there's a number of reasons why that didn't happen. And I think Leonard Nimoy said it could be the best idea or the worst idea ever. And I will admit, there's a part of me that would have been very curious to see Eddie Murphy in this. But I think Eddie Murphy didn't like the part that was written for him. And from what I understand, like, he wanted to play like a Vulcan. He wanted to play like an actual, like, Star Trek type of character, like a Vulcan. He's like, well, I don't want to just be Axel Foley again. I think that was his mentality. I don't want to just be like Axel Foley again. But then, he did The Golden Child. And you know what? In retrospect, I'm fine with how it turned out because I love The Golden Child. I got the Blu-ray right over there. It became my personal favorite Eddie Murphy film. And then Star Trek 6 worked out well too. Catherine Hicks did a good job. I think Eddie Murphy, I think people would have looked at it as too much stunt casting, kind of like Richard Pryor in Superman 3. Although I love Superman 3 and I love Richard Pryor, people look at that in a bad way as stunt casting. So I think that's what they would have done here. Because at the time, Eddie Murphy was huge with Paramount, who I call pair of pricks. Because nowadays there are a pair of pricks. But, oh joy. But I think Eddie Murphy, yeah, he would have Beverly Hills Cop and 40 Hour, like, a lot of huge hits. Like, he was becoming one of Paramount's biggest stars. What's interesting, like, Eddie Murphy wanted John Carpenter to do, it's weird how things turn out. Eddie Murphy wanted to do a Star Trek film. He was close to doing this, but he's like, no, I want to do another movie. He did The Golden Child. But he wanted John Carpenter to direct it. John Carpenter said no, so then he did Big Trouble in Little China. So each of these three things not happening, if Eddie Murphy says no to this, we got the Golden Child. John Carpenter said no to the Golden Child, we got Big Trouble in Little China. And then we got 3, in my opinion, damn good movies. I don't know, it's just funny how fate works out in that fashion. Yes, commence landing procedures. San Francisco. For a split second, I think I'm going to see lightning like it's electricity, like it's Terminator. But yeah, Star Trek 5, like I said, it's flawed, and I still like it for what it is. It definitely got some issues behind the scenes. I think Shatner was over his head. The effects budget was limited because 89, that was the year you had Indiana Jones 3, you had Ghostbusters 2, you had all of these other big movies happen at the same time that they didn't get the right effects company and the money to polish the special effects. And then Shatner wanted a different ending, but then it had to be truncated, so it wasn't as satisfying as it could be. I would actually like to see a director's cut of Star Trek 5. That would be the one. Improve special effects. Like, that's the one that would actually benefit, and they said no to that. So yeah, let's fix something that's not broken. That seems to be the common thing. If it's not broken, fix it. If it's broken, don't fix it. That's the way of the fucking world, though. Because, well, people like that movie, so if we change it up a bit, people will see the movie they like. It's like, no. Say, hey, we could have a better version of this movie. Here's a curiosity. Here's a curiosity piece. San Francisco of 1986. Okay, I gotta stop. This is one of my favorite moments. Well, double dumbass on you. It's just interesting to see how people in the future just view this modern state of affairs and just how primitive it is. Because that was a future that was hopeful. That you didn't have a lot of the issues that we have today. Although Star Trek TV shows now abandon that, saying, oh, that's just too hokey, that's too unrealistic, so we gotta deal with the issues of today. I'm like, yeah, but there's clever ways of doing it, like the Star Trek episode where this one guy, half his face is white here, half his face is black here. Another guy, half his face is white here and black here. And they're like, what's the deal? You guys, what's the difference? Is that a lot? That's saying like they don't know much about money, things of that nature, but again, Star Trek Discovery or Picard, they just abandoned that shit. And it just... So then you don't want... In other words, you don't want to be Star Trek anymore. That's why I understand. This new shit, you don't want to be Star Trek anymore. And that's the thing, is that Star Trek does not want to be Star Trek anymore, so then you're not fucking Star Trek. The J.J. Abrams stuff, to me, is not Star Trek, in my opinion. Bunch of over-the-top, whatever the fuck, special effect action scenes. Bunch of fucking lens flares. Not giving shit about the characters. Thinking you're Star Wars. Because J.J. Abrams wanted to make a Star Wars, but he had Star Trek. Because J.J. Abrams didn't give a shit about Star Trek. So this was really his fucking audition for Star Wars. Then he fucked up Star Wars. That's he both fucked up Superman. Fuck J.J. Abrams. It's a fucking hack. I liked Mission Impossible 3, but Super 8 was fucking overrated bullshit, in my opinion. And so were his fucking Star Trek movies. I know people like them, that's cool. Not for me. Yeah, try the Yellow Pages. People who live in San Francisco, are there buildings that the entire fucking wall is just one big advertisement? Is that like the whole thing was a Yellow Pages advertisement? Was that a... People who live in the city, I don't live in the city, live in bumfuck nowhere. In cities, are there entire places that just, like, you even open up the door, whether it be your house, I guess your business, just one giant advertisement? You have a Russian guy looking for the nuclear vessels. I think this actress was not supposed to say anything. I think that extra was not supposed to say anything, but then they kept it in, and worked out for the best. So, but yeah, you have a Russian guy in '86 during the Cold War looking for the nuclear vessels, as they call. You have this punk guy. I think this guy's like an associate producer or something. He's like, oh, I'll play the role. And this is like inspired by Leonard Nimoy. There's like a guy rocking his tunes. He's like, man, I wish I could just do this. And then the idea that it shuts off. Fuck you! But Of course, this comes back at the end where it says, just calls him colorful metaphors, double dumbass on you, and so forth. You mean the profanity? That's just how they talk around here. And then Spock trying to understand profanity. I thought that was a entertaining idea. Again, like later on, you have, these are not the hell your whales. The hell they did. So, yeah, it's like, is the guy just trying to understand how profanity works? I gotta say, the movie goes at a good pace. Like, we're already 45 minutes in, and with end credits and stuff, I mean, a little over an hour left. We have Catherine Hicks. So instead of Eddie Murphy as the UFO, I don't know if he was conspiracy theorist or if he was just a scientist, but UFO guy. Instead, you have Catherine Hicks, which works better in the fact that it makes her more of a connection to the whales. And, of course, Catherine Hicks will later be in Child's Play, the original Child's Play, 1988. And she did a good job in this. I like her as an actress. She has a warmth to her, a gleam in her eye, and she plays off William Shatner very well. She stands on her own 2 feet. She's got a bit of spunk to her, so to speak, a bit of attitude, but she's not annoying or irritating at all. She's a good actress. She will later be in the TV show Seventh Heaven, sadly with Stephen Collins, who was in Star Trek the Motion Picture, and of course you find out Stephen Collins is a fucking pederast. Yes, Decker from Star Trek the Motion Picture, and then star Seventh Heaven, he likes little boys. That's why you never hear him again. He's just... I had to bite back to puke. I'm not even kidding. And now I'm watching like this nasty stuff of what's happened to the whales. Like, that grosses me out more than horror films. Like, when he's cut into the skin of the whale. And this is the thing, I'm not a vegetarian. I love chicken. I love bacon. Although you can't eat it too much, you have a heart attack in 2 days. But I love sausage egg McMuffins. Even eggs. When you think of what an egg was, you're eating a baby. And I love eggs. I love scrambled eggs. I mean, that's the thing, I'm not. But it's like, I don't know. There's some stuff you don't need to do. Like whales, you don't need to fuck with them. You don't need to fuck with dolphins. You don't need to fuck with... Unless it's desperate measures, of course, but... We're not in that realm. When you could go to a fucking Church's Chicken, or McDonald's, or your grocery store. This is not against anyone who's into hunting. It's just not for me. I'm not going to condemn people for hunting. I may not get it. I may not understand it. But, hey, you do you, man. To me, I'm like, if I kill something, it's going to be like a bug that's in my fucking room because I want you to get the fuck out of my room. Or I don't want to be attacked by something. Or I'm desperate for food. That's just my own point of view. Doesn't mean others have to share it. That's with every video I've made. Any video I've made, no one has to share my opinion. I'm just here to state my own opinion. But yeah, the Star Trek, like I said, I grew up with it. And I gotta be honest, I would say I'm more a fan of the first 6 Star Trek movies than I am of the Star Wars trilogy. Now, I like the original Star Wars films. But I'm just saying, if you're asking me which ones I would rather rewatch, it would be like Star Trek 4. I would rather rewatch Star Trek 4 than the other Star Wars movies. Or Star Trek 3, or Star Trek 6. I think just because I like the characters in Star Wars, but I like these characters a lot more. The sense of humor, the way they interact with each other, the stories. Each film definitely felt unique. Did you think about it, like, you see into that man. And apparently a lot of these whales were done, like, special effects. Like, by, I think this is a prop special effect that Leonard Nimoy's swimming next to. Because I know people were complaining at the time, oh my god, they're using these whales. I'm like, no, they're special effects. See, this is Spock trying to use the profanity. Supremacist Spock was contacting the whale saying, hey, do you want to do this? Do you not want to do this? It's up to you. Which is actually a nice little message there. They like you very much, but they are not the hell your whales. I suppose they told you that? The hell they did. Beautiful location. They definitely utilize San Francisco fairly well. You haven't got quite the knack for those colorful metaphors. And another thing, it's not always necessary to tell the truth. I cannot tell a lie. No, you just exaggerate. You've done it before. Can you remember? The hell I can't. But yeah, I would say if someone asked me if I'm more of a Star Trek or Star Wars fan, I probably would say Star Trek. Because again, I just think back to how many movies I genuinely like. Like the Star Wars prequels, I could deal with Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. I like the original three, but I really like these first six Star Trek films. And I mean, I don't like Generations. I hate Generations. I like Star Trek Nemesis for what it is. I liked it. I don't love it like other people, but I like it. The thing is, I like the stuff with the Borg and Picard on the ship. When it cuts back to Riker and on Earth and trying to get this drunk guy, it's humorous, but at the same time, I'm thinking, I could you go back? If this was in a different movie, maybe. But when you have the stuff with Picard and Data and the Borg, it's like the film Aliens, almost like coming out of the woodwork. When you keep breaking out of that to go back to Earth to do this like comedy shtick with the drunk guy, just to me, it fucks with the flow of that film. Yeah, I like the film, but just fucks with the flow of it. And yeah, I like Nemesis, but again, that's why I don't love it. It's like I get why it's there in the plot, but it's like I kind of wish the entire film was just about this limited group of people, including Picard. The others are maybe on shore leave or something. They can't get back, and they have to deal with this situation at hand with the Borg. That's just my own 2 cents on it. If we play our cards right, we'll know when they're leaving. How does playing cards help us? LDS. I like that, the show that, Kirk knows a little bit more about this era, but not everything. So instead of LSD, he said LDS. So I like that. I think this is a fairly well written film. I know that Nicholas Meyer had another. He worked on the script because the original script was by. It says Steve Mearson and Peter Kreitz. I thought John Petrie Jr. worked on Beverly Hills Cop, like the original, before he got ad-libbed and rewritten. But it says Harv Bennett and Nicholas Meyer. Of course, Nicholas Meyer directed Star Trek 2, he directed Star Trek 6. I've never been one of those guys that said the only good ones are the even ones. Again, I like Star Trek the Motion Picture. I like Star Trek 3 a lot. Again, I would say that's might be my second favorite. I don't know, maybe my third favorite. Because I really like the motion picture. I really like The Undiscovered Country Part 6. Like I said, Star Trek, Nemesis, I don't mind. Insurrection, I don't like. And I hated... Fuck, I fucked up. I meant to say First Contact, not Nemesis. So I'm sure 10 minutes ago, but what are you talking about Nemesis? I meant Star Trek First Contact for the board. See? There you go. Fucked up there. Damn it. Rewind a bit. All that stuff I was talking about with the Borg and stuff, I'm talking about Star Trek First Contact. Nemesis is the one I don't like with the fucking Data dying and all the... Was it Tom Hardy as the young Picard? So I meant to say Star Trek First Contact. So I fucked that up. But hey, you fuck up sometimes. It is what it is. So again, I apologize for fucking that up. All that stuff I was talking about with the Borg and the drunk guy and how I like the film when it's on the Borg ship. With Enterprise, the Borg, Data, Picard, that's Star Trek First Contact. So again, I apologize for that. So right, because there's another funny bit coming up here. Yes, no. Yes, no. No. I love Italian. And so do you. See, it's sincere because it's deal with the characters. Where they've set up that Spock doesn't want to lie, he cannot tell a lie, but that he's told by his admiral. Yes. I also like that each of the characters get something to do. So you got Uhura and Chekhov try and get stuff with the nuclear vessels. Chekhov has a bit more to do here with the foot chase we'll see later on, and they get Chekhov out of the hospital. They each have their part of the plan. I think that's what the writing in this film, Nicholas Meyer, even Leonard Nimoy, I guarantee had a hand in it. We need stuff for each of these characters to do and partake in. So with Scotty, we need to find a way to transport these whales, so we need that stuff built. And McCoy's going to help with that. We need stuff to get the ship fixed so we can get back, so Uhura and Chekhov are going to do that. We need a way to get this stuff where we need to be, so Sulu, here, helicopter pilot, why not? And it's just sad when you look at, well, you look at every franchise of today, just how it's gone up shit creek. And yeah, I know I'm probably not the biggest expert of Star Trek. I mean, hell, I spent 5 minutes fucking up Star Trek First Contact Nemesis names. So obviously I'm not like the biggest Star Trek expert. And I could also say though that I looked at the recent Star Trek, it's just not for me. If it's for you, that's cool, but it's like a lot of stuff, whether it be Star Wars, Star Trek, Terminator, Ninja Turtles, whether it be now Matrix, every fucking franchise, everything that's been old comes back to try to be new, but then it's just like a remake, a reboot, or abomination, or amalgamation, or lacks the spirit, lacks the core. The Predator in 2018, let's make it a shitty comedy. Okay, again, there's another fun bit where he's like, "Hello, computer," and then it tries to do the mouse. No, you gotta use this. Oh, hello, computer. I think there was an actual transparent aluminum made later on. Was it like around 2009 or such? I could absolutely be wrong, but I think like he says transparent aluminum, right? I think they actually made that later on, like I think around 2009 or such. Sorry about that. My mouth is drying up, so I'm trying to get something to drink. But yeah, it's one of those things about Star Trek. Like, again, I looked at the TV shows, I looked at the movies, and I go either they're trying to just. There's no hope. There's no hopeful future of Star Trek. No hopeful characters where we want to try to be the best person that we want to be, the best versions of ourselves we want to be. Instead, Seven of Nine, like, doesn't she like rip someone's arm off or some shit like that? Or, I mean, you know what? That works well in The Punisher, or works well with others. It doesn't work with Star Trek. That's not what Star Trek is. You say, well, Ninja Turtles. Yeah, Ninja Turtles, that's what it was back in the day of the comics. Read the original comics. That went for quite a few years. So yeah, I think if you went back to basics, that would work well. And there's been violence in Star Trek. I mean, Star Trek 2, with the ear stuff, possessing people, and there are people that have died. I mean, Kurt's son got killed in the last movie. But it just, I don't see how anything today is. But that's like every fucking thing. It's like, we know better than you, so we're going to change it, fix it, do this, do that. You either fix it's not broken, or we just repeat the same shit over and over again. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you're contradicting yourself. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Yeah, you know what? It is a tightrope. It's a tightrope with every movie. That's why every movie's not a box office hit. That's why every movie's not a bona fide, everybody loves it type of event. Every fucking movie is a tightrope. Every fucking movie is this combination of elements that you have to get working together. If it was so fucking easy, again, every fucking movie would be a box office hit, or every movie would be loved, get 5 out of 5 stars. And it's not the case. It's not the case. Of course, that also deals with personal perception and attitudes and point of views. I guarantee you there are people out there who hate this movie. They hate that it's comedic. They hate that it's more fun. And then there are people like me who it's their favorite. I bet there are people that are out there who think Star Trek Generations is the best. I disagree. I think it's the worst. The way they kill off Kirk is so fucking dumb. You didn't need to kill him off. You didn't need to bring them back. If you want to make a Star Trek generation, next generation movie, just make it without any callback to the original cast. But it was a big marketing tool. That's why on the fucking poster you had Captain Kirk and Picard. Even though Captain Kirk was in like the first 5 minutes and then like the last 10 minutes. So the way the poster makes it look as if they're going to be working together throughout the entire movie, and it's not. It was one of those where the team had one last adventure, and it's a time travel, or they've gone to the future. Now we don't want to know too much about our fate. They shake hands, they go off, salute, literally handing of the torch, they leave. Maybe Generations would be better. But I think even Leonard Nimoy knew that this was a bad idea. You looked at the script, it's a bad idea. I think if you had a script that was actually a good pass of the baton, because Leonard Nimoy did the show Next Generation, where Spock interacted with Data and interacted with Picard, so he did the show. And yet James Doohan was on an episode. DeForest Kelly, being an older McCoy, was on an episode. So in a way, that was kind of already done within the show itself. So they should not have done it in the first place. Really, what it should have been, Star Trek First Contact should have been the first one that they did. Skip Generations and just do Star Trek First Contact. That's what they should have done. Boom, we're going to go out with a bang. Our first impression, our big villain is the board. Boom. Oh shit. What's this about? Sorry if you hear noise, just the fucking allergies just getting to me in this time of year. But yeah, it's kind of one of those. I'm just thinking about what come later, where you have a Russian and an American ship looking for the nuclear. In a way, it kind of just writes itself. Like, of course, after they capture him, are you a Russian spy? Cold War, all that stuff. Although technically, the Cold War would end only a few years after this, because by the time Rambo 3 came out in 1988, you had Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan hunting it out, and the Cold War was pretty much long and gone. So then when Rambo 3 came out, oh, you have an American fighting the Russians again, and I say, well, yeah, that was the Cold War was still apparent when that film was being made. But I still love Rambo 3 a lot. When sequels were mostly worth a shit. Although, Kurt, you have to think, like, this is such a pretty outrageous story to put upon someone for them to believe. You know? It's like, okay, you don't have this woman believe that you're from the 23rd century and you want to get her two whales to some other location, and you live in a park. I would have to assume that at it's not that she believes him, it's just that she's so intrigued by this guy. Like, who the hell is this guy? Again, he's in a park and blah blah blah. She sees this flashing and then he disappeared. Like, either he's a speedster, he's a track star, or something else happened. And that's another thing, like, so many of these people nowadays, they make these wannabe 80s movies and they don't get what makes the 80s work. They think that if you just have a couple neon signs and you have a couple songs from the 80s, that automatically means it's an 80s type of movie. And I'm like, no. You don't get the aesthetic, you don't get the tone, the attitude, the fact that they were sincere. Whether in their outrageousness, their insanity, creativity, their cocaine fueled, whatever the film may be, they were sincere in it. And now, when they try to do it, they don't want to be sincere. Because they act as if they're sincere, they'll be made fun of. And, no, well, we're in on the joke. Don't you get it? We're in on the joke. We don't want to be looked at as we actually believe in this. We actually fall into this. No, we're with you. We think it's cheesy and we think it's silly too. But we love it as well. It's like, no, you don't sincerely love it then. Yes, there are a lot of people that love the 80s and even 90s, and they love it in a cheesy, corny, way. Teach their own. But there's also people like me and a lot of you out there that sincerely love these 80s and 90s films for what they have at face value. What they have at face value, what they're showing on the screen, you believed in it, you bought into it, and if it's politics in it, it's politics that's of the time that fits within the gleam of the skin of the movie. But at the end of the day, still trying to entertain you, whether to make you laugh, make you excited, make your adrenaline pumped, or spark ideas, or a bit of magic into it. Here, it's again the likable characters, the way they interact with each other, the fun fish out of water humor. And I bet this helped with the budget as well. I'm sure Paramount were happy. Like, oh, yes! We could just film in the city. We could just film in a store. We could just film in a park. This is going to save on the budget. Because you don't have to build these grandiose sets and... Like this could be the boiler room of a fucking factory. Or whatever. Or, I mean, they could have shot on an actual battleship. Sorry, battleship, and it would have been cheaper. Some of the more heavy effects stuff in the films before and afterward. But sure, Paramount is like, let's have them all take place in modern San Francisco. And it is like a lot of people in the future, like maybe a little bit McCoy, but a lot of people don't. I do not know your name. We're through? I am. May I go now? I mean, just not quite understanding the terminology. Man, you can't do that nowadays. When I should use the word retard. But that's, that type of character would say that and call someone that. He's not supposed to be one of our likable main lead characters. So he would say that, he would do that, he would partake in that language. Boo-hoo. I mean... But, people, you hear that today, oh, they're canceled. Well, no, that's not a word you should say. But at the same time, for a movie, for that type of character, it's like back to the day with 48 Hours, where people are using the N-word, and it's like, what doesn't work for the character, and guess what? People say bad things, whether they're PC or not. In real life, when people talk, they don't worry about PC, unless they're afraid of being canceled. Would I say that? No. But there's a lot of people who would. I was trying to think what I was going to say before about... I was talking about the 80s stuff, and... Another thing that about Star Trek I enjoyed, they did these fan stuff called Trekkies. Trekkies and Trekkies 2. Which I always thought was entertaining documentaries on the fans. It was hosted by Denise Crosby. I wish they were re-released on Blu-ray. Like a 2-pack, Trekkies 1 and 2 Blu-ray set. I would love... I wish there was a Trekkies 3. Although I can imagine what the hell it could be nowadays. But if they'd have to be brutally honest. Like, you have to have people that sincerely go, I don't care what's... If you had someone to be brutally honest and go, a lot of people don't like the Star Trek today, let's hear from them. Hey, we can also hear from the people who do like it today and why they like it and why they're for it, but let's also hear from the people who don't like it and why they don't like it. Like a Trekkies 3, again, without being afraid, say what you honestly feel. If you like it or don't, give both sides. I think that could really be highly entertaining to see. Re-release Trekkies 1 and 2, put them on Blu-ray, do a Trekkies 3, let's go. I want to see it. Now, from what I understand, when she slapped that guy, that was an ad-lib, so the guy's reaction was real. Again, I don't know if that's true, but this is what I've heard. When Catherine Hitz did that slap to the guy, that was a real reaction the guy had, because she wasn't supposed to really slap him, but there you go. So here's Sulu. See, that's like a little humorous moment, but it doesn't detract from the character of Sulu. You know, he's still getting the hang of it, but he's flying it fairly well, but he's still trying to get the hang of it. Oh, there's the windshield wipers. I've never been in a helicopter. I would love to one day. Like, just ride one, but I've never been in a helicopter. I don't know if anyone who watches is a helicopter pilot, but if you are, come on by, give me a ride. I think that'd be fun to ride, at least once. That'll make you a believer when you see that. I'm not saying you have to make believe that there's something invisible here that but you could touch it. I like the little detail, the indentation in the grass, to further show that something is there, and of course, so heavy it's pressing it down. Because there might be some movies that neglect that little detail. I'm surprised he doesn't just walk outside. Instead, he beams her up. I wonder why he didn't just walk outside with the door. But I guess also the further show, you know, the inside of her ship and welcome to Wonderland. I also like the idea that she actually does go with them to the future. Which, I mean, I'll be honest, if I had no one here, you know, friends, family, I would do the same thing. Sorry, I'm just listening to the dialogue. Is that... But it's the human thing to do. Which is funny because in that, when they went back through time, you had that weird trippy. That's a line that Spock said. So when you watch the film again, when you watch that scene, it's lines that were said before the film, before that moment in the film, and also lines that come up later in the film, merged together, which makes sense because it's the whole time thing. This almost makes me want to see a show of Dr. McCoy in the 20th century. It could be like Dr. House MD. Just he's got all this high tech medicine. He's just fixing all these people, helping their lives get better. But also how in a quick fashion to show just how far advanced medicine has gone, that you have this sickly old woman, dialysis. All McCoy had to do was give her a pill and she's perfectly fine. And just the comparison between, doctors back then and or modern time and in the future. Sounds like the damn Spanish Inquisition to me. It also makes Catherine Hitt's character likable because she goes along with this to help out. So I don't know, just that simple action makes her a bit likable. Drilling holes in his head is not the answer. The artery must be repaired. I like that. Was that a gun? Because, I mean, it doesn't look like a gun, so they don't exactly know what it is. And there you go. Because they don't want to harm the people, but if it works, it works. But again, it shows that, again, just how far medicine has come. And it gives a little bit of something for Chekhov to do, because, some of the characters like Chekhov, like Walter Koenig and others, they don't really have a lot of other stuff to really get to do. Wait, you came in with a woman. One little mistake. But I guess some of the other folks in the cast, I mean, Leonard Nimoy, like I said, may he rest in peace. Like I say, he directed some stuff. And I'm trying to think what else he acted in later in life. Walter Koenig. He did a couple other acting jobs. He was in a little bit of Babylon 5. The one I think of the most is Moontrap. Walter Koenig was the star of a film in 1989 called Moontrap, starring him and Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead. And Moontrap is an underrated sci-fi film where those two play astronauts. They go to the moon, and on the moon there happens to be some hidden civilization and also some creatures, some mechanical monsters that use people for spare parts. Moontrap Sally got a shitty Blu-ray where the picture quality looks just funky and the colors, like it's soft. I don't know if soft or fuzzy or what do you call it? Just they fucked up with that whole scheme of things. They really did, which just pisses me off. They fucked that up badly. I just really screwed the pooch with that. But I love Moontrap, entertaining sci-fi film. James Doohan, he didn't do a whole lot that I can think of. Like I say, he was in the episode Star Trek Next Generation. He made a cameo as himself, well, as Scotty in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1, which was fun. George Takei, he would make a couple cameo appearances. I think he was in a cameo in the film You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Like a guy gets blown up and lands in the middle of like a party with George Takei there. It's like a little cameo. But I'm sure like all the conventions they do like conventions seem like every week or every 2 weeks, and seems like they probably get paid a lot of money just from going from convention to convention. And I guess that's kind of the life, like to be able to have the rest of your career just go to conventions, say hi to people, talk to people, and really that gets you through the rest of your life. And that seems like the lucky thing to do is that to do something that's become so monumental that again you get to go to conventions like every week or 2 weeks or month or whatever. And I've never been to a convention of any sort, so I would not know anything about that. Sorry, I'm just listening to the dialogue. Yeah, take your best guess. Well, nobody's perfect. And that's the thing with Star Trek is that yes, I am of the pessimistic route that I truly believe that humanity would never get to the point of the future of Star Trek where we will be above racism, poverty, all that jazz. I just don't. I think sadly that's part of human nature. Not everybody, but some who just are either tribal or they look at something different and they're either paranoid or is that instinct of unsure about the unknown. But thankfully there's a lot of decent people out there, a lot of people watching out there who want to believe that. And there are a lot of good people out there. That's the thing. That's what you have to look at. There's a lot of good people out there. But do I think we would ever reach a future that is that quaint? Sadly, no. But that was the appeal of Star Trek, is that hope. That hope. And when you've taken that hope away with this new Star Trek, that to me is not Star Trek anymore. It's not that Gene Roddenberry, that's what he wanted in the first place. And that's not what it is anymore. And if that's the case, then don't call yourself Star Trek, call yourself any other fucking name. I just at least, Picard is calling himself Picard. And, I didn't grow up with Star Trek Next Generation TV show like other people. I didn't grow up with I saw the Picard movies, but not like these movies. Like, I've seen these 6 movies a lot more than Nemesis or First Contact. Again, to the point that I fucked up for 5 minutes calling one movie the wrong fucking title. I kept calling it Nemesis when it was First Contact. So again, I've seen those movies. I have not watched them nearly as many times as these first 6 films. And if I understand, I thought I read these are special effects for the whales. Now I could be wrong, but that's what I thought from reading it. That's what they detailed. Blow them up? No, of course they're not going to blow them up. But I'm just looking at, this is the Widescreen Collection Special Collector's Edition DVD. It's a 2-disc set. This is what the back looks like. To the side. Which is strange you have the Klingons on the back because they're barely a thing in this movie. And then give a little bit more detail. And yeah, I like the way they did the skyline in this painting. And the crash that's at the end of the film. Nice painting of our 2 leads. The Voyage Home. It actually came with this little booklet. Well, I wouldn't say booklet, just this little thing. It says what the special features are, and then this nice little picture here. With our trifecta, our trinity. And the features on the DVD, you have a commentary by William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy. You have a text commentary by Michael and Denise Okuda, co-authors of the Star Trek Encyclopedia. You have Disc 2, Time Travel, the Art of the Possible, The Language of Whales, A Vulcan Primer, Kurt's Women, Production Featurettes, Futures Past, A Look Back, On Location, Dailies, Deconstruction, Below the Line, Sound Design, Visual Effects Featurettes, From Outer Space to the Ocean, The Bird of Prey, Tributes, Gene Roddenberry Scrapbook, Featured Artist Mark Leonard, Interviews from Back to the Day of Shatner, Nimoy, and DeForest Kelley, Theatrical Trailer. So you got your commentaries, you have some making ofs, especially Futures Past, A Look Back. Yeah, decent amount of features. Which Paramount did not do that for a lot of movies, but they did that for some of these Star Trek films. Even though, again, they should have just let Shatner do a director's cut of Part 5. This is what Disc 2 looks like, because I got Disc 1 in there. Now, I will say the score is fine for what it needed to be. I forget who did the music. Leonard Rosenman. The score, I mean, it works for this kind of film, like the kind of tone, trying to be more like comedic. I like the music at the end. Like, I like the music when they've landed in the water. And I don't mind the music at the end credits. I will say there's a part of me that wishes what this film would have been if you had Jerry Goldsmith, who came back for part 5, because James Horner did Star Trek 2 and 3. Jerry Goldsmith did the first one, then James Horner did Star Trek 2 and 3, then this guy, Rosenman did part 4, and then Jerry Goldsmith came back for part 5. I think James Horner did part 6. No, maybe it's someone else. I can't remember who did part 6. I think Jerry Goldsmith came back for First Contact. But yeah, the score again is fine. I would be it would be really interesting to see what the film would have been again, scored by Jerry Goldsmith. Just hear that da 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 na na na, like the way Jerry Goldsmith, like the music in Part 5, I think is one of the best parts of that movie. It's a beautiful score. I'm just saying, like the score in this is not something I listen to a lot. Again, I would say the music from Part 1 and Part 5 is probably the Jerry Goldsmith, because he's my favorite composer. May he rest in peace. I listen to him the most when it deals with Star Trek music. I don't remember when Star Trek Next Generation came out on TV. I don't know if it was in a year after this or something. I can't remember. Was it 87? Was it? I cannot remember. Maybe before that, because it lasted. Yeah, I can't remember. They gotta find a way to get this stuff into the water. So there you go. The shit fucked up once. You go through this, you just do it again. I could just imagine how much of a pain in the ass all this stuff would have been. Like, on the outside, you have to look like it's stormy, it's cloudy, lightning. Like, you're in the water. It's gotta be raining right now. It'll be cold as hell. I'm guessing they were in a tank. I would hope, because like how dirty that tank could be, or like how the water could be if you're not. I will say the design of the probe is a little bit generic. If there's like one nitpick I could say, like the probe. I mean, great, it's a probe. But I'm just saying, like most of it is kind of a generic design. There's not really a lot of creativity in the look of the probe. I mean, I like the little bit that like floats down, and then it'll go back up at the end. But like most of its body just looked like, I don't know, not a Hershey bar, but I don't know. We gotta have Captain Kirk do something heroic, which I like, I appreciate. He is the admiral. He is the leader. Which I can get. That's the thing, when, even as egocentric as it is, I do think sometimes that has to be part of the equation, because it's like, well, an audience is watching the film. They do want the guy to be the lead, and they do want the lead to save the day and do something heroic. You know, and to let Captain Kirk do something like this. All right, cool, yay! He did something, and that's cool. And that's William Shatner doing himself. You see, that's a good direction. You have the camera in the right spot to let the audience know this is really him doing it. It's not a double. It's not just someone plugged in. You see, it's his face swimming in underwater, doing it all. Can you imagine if they did all this and it's like, nope, never mind. Kill them all. Let the whales tell the probe, get us the fuck out of here. If you could do that, now kill them all. Look what they did to us. There's only 2 of us left. They fucked us over. They fucked us over, If you get us the fuck out of here. Yeah, the probe looks like a really old cigarette that someone like put out at the end. I know Harv Bennett, he actually wanted subtitles here with the whales and the probe talking to each other. And you had Harv Bennett and like the studio, oh, can there be subtitles? And Leonard Nimoy and Nicholas Myers like, no. And that's true. If you had subtitles, people would laugh. Even though, yeah, technically they are talking to each other, but people would laugh if you just saw subtitles. It's like back when you had Godzilla. What was that Godzilla movie where Godzilla's talking to someone? You had subtitles. I forget what it was. Was it Godzilla versus? Oh, what the hell was it? Was it not Megalon? It wasn't that one. It was. I can't remember. Oh god, what was the one? Gaidan? Was it Godzilla vs. Gaidan? Something like that. I don't mind this swirling bit here, although it looks a bit like a, I don't know, volleyball. This does look a little bit like a blue volleyball. Maybe he's trying to get the guys in Top Gun and play a volleyball game. It looks like a dick. And now the dick is retracting because the whale told him no. That's what it is. See, it was a tender date. And the whale said, fuck no. So the probe's dick retracted and this is got butthurt and now the probe's leaving. I'll be cool. Not gonna freak out. Fine. Fuck you then. I'm leaving. I'll show you. And the whale's like, yep, bye, sucker. This is my mate, not you, bitch. Fuck off. And that's why the probe's moaning and fucking pathetic. Gluttony. Sorry, you're not going to get laid today. Tough titty. That was the probe's dick. Retracting. See, now the probe is like sad and is like, fuck this. Is that Deep Space Nine? I didn't know Deep Space Nine was in this. See, it never goes back to that ship at the beginning. That's why I guess that ship died at the beginning. Because it never goes back to them. To that ship at the beginning. So I guess to assume they died? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if this was like done like one of the last scenes of the movie. I always felt this seemed like a real thing, like them not wanting to get in the water and no, I'll push you. No, I'll push you off, and then you have the court martial. And yeah, it's kind of hard to punish people that just saved the Earth and saved your life. And yeah, if it wasn't for Spock, the guy we saved that you're so pissed off we saved, you'll be dead too. Because without him, would not have been able to go through time. That gives a nice sense of loyalty for Spock. Conspiracy, assault on Federation officers, theft of Federation property, the Enterprise, shit got blown up, sabotage of the Excelsior, willful destruction of Federation property, disobeying direct orders of Starfleet. Of course, in real life, they would be fired and probably put in jail for like they'll say like 5 years, but then they do like 3 months. That's the thing, is that in reality, they'd be in jail. Again, they'd probably be like, okay, we're going to do a 5-year sentence, but then if you're, like maybe 8 months good behavior. Which, of course, actually works in his favor because he wanted to be captain anyway. He didn't really like being admiral. He wanted to be command of a starship. I wonder what those aliens are with the weird, like, masked thing. I don't know if you ever saw those aliens before or since. Like, what species is that? Doesn't the Klingon clap as well? No, I guess not. We'll say that for Star Trek 6. I think that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Star Trek 6. Yeah, that's why you have no Klingons there. Which actually, is actually a good writing note. The Klingons would still be mad, still be angry. They even said there'd be no peace. And then that goes into Star Trek 6. Well, no, she won't, because she never comes back again. She'll never come. Yeah, well, she'll never see you again. Because she never comes back. Because you say if like all of Kurt's women, they never come back. Then a couple movies later, he'll be fucking dead. Which I know William Shatner regretted that because he would. Well, he wrote, but I'm sure his name is on the book, but I think someone else wrote it, and then he probably had some ideas, so someone ghost wrote it for him. Ghost wrote it for him, I should say. But where the board got Captain Kirk's body and brought him back to life and blah blah blah. And I guess it says author William Shatner, but I think someone else wrote it for him, and maybe he you write it. I'll give you a couple ideas. Because I'm like, did he technically write them? I think a lot of people have said, nah, not really. Live long and prosper. I think at the end you get another Enterprise. I do like their uniforms here. Right here, I do like these uniforms. I always thought See, are they wearing it here too? They're in these little shuttles. Yeah. I always thought these uniforms looked the best with the red and the little strap on the shoulder. Yeah, these uniforms I always thought looked the best on them. And they're getting a new ship and they don't know what it is, so it's a bit surprised when it's the Enterprise. Like, they think it's going to be this ship, they think it's going to be that ship. It is supposed to be a nice surprise for the audience as well. Like, you have them together and there's one more character to come back. We've come home. They have a little bit of that Star Trek TV show music. But see, like, I think of Jerry Goldsmith, like, if it was da 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 da. Yeah, again, this music's not bad. But again, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss that. Da 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 na na na. Da 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 da. And it's nice that like each character gets like their own screenshot, really. The cast, Catherine Hicks, Spock's father, Spock's mother, even the whales. Like, they each get their moment to shine, and then you just see, clips of what you saw. And it's like showing different locations. Like, we have the command central, the hub. And then I think yeah, and then it's like, okay, showing like giving a spotlight to the locations. Or the areas. I'm waiting for this. Yeah, this is where it's like more of sort of a whimsical nature. I didn't play into that fish out of water story. Like, this is a type of Star Trek story that would not work in any other Star Trek film. Like I said, it's not my favorite store of the franchise, but for what kind of film this is, it's fine. But I want to Industrial Light and Magic. Great job on the special effects. They did a wonderful job with that. And yeah, that was the commentary for, I would say, my favorite Star Trek film. It's a fun movie. It made me genuinely laugh to this day. And lives in it just leaves an uplifting note to end things on. Makes you feel good. It's a nice feel-good movie. And it's nice seeing these characters again. So thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.